So I want to just share very fast about, first of all, let me, Canyon Creek Project is the church that we planted. We planted 5 years ago, and we wanted to start with the concept of a community. Wanted to design the church based on the community needs. And so we figured out the community is an affluent community. It's a very recreational community. It's contemporary, somewhat traditional community. They are very involved with families, and there's a high expenditure on school education. But at the same time, we had some other pockets, right, that were kind of not that affluent, but kind of more blue collar kind of scenarios. So it was a very interesting. It's very interested in multi generational, multicultural. Um, uh, the place where I planted is surrounded by mega churches. We have Baptist mega churches, Methodist mega churches, non-denominational mega churches, Preston Wood mega church. I mean, it's full of mega churches. I'm surprised I was able to squeeze a few baptisms there. So Canyon Creek Project, we started with 4 people. We're now an attendance of 300 people. And if everybody came, we would probably be in the 450, 500. We are serving a unchurched crowd, and I didn't know how to serve an unchurched crowd, and so I learned a lot about unchurched. I learned a lot about nuns, and I learned about other type of crowds that we are serving in that place. So we do a little, we had to figure out how to do ministry. The first thing I want to share about with you is share with your peers, with your pastors, with your friends, with everybody. Evangelism, you don't have to be a genius to do evangelism. Just do something. It doesn't matter what you do. Just do something. When I was in Potomac, there was this one pastor who said he had a bad experience with one of these big evangelistic meetings. He had a big church, and I sat down. I wanted to do one of those, and he said, "Pastor, can you talk to the pastors first before you do that?" And then he told me his experience. I said, "Okay." And so finally, I sat down with him. I said, "Why don't you just do something? Just do something, whatever." And he took that to heart. And his church had not baptized for, I think it was like 5 or 7 years. He started doing something. And suddenly he started baptizing and baptizing. He never stopped. He's just doing it. And he started figuring out the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And he just started, it's like I give him permission. Sometimes we need to give permission to people to fail. Fail. It's okay to fail. It's fine. Sometimes when we fail, God blesses incredibly. I had a whole evangelistic meeting that lasted 1 month. I didn't baptize one person. 2 months later, 16 people got baptized from that place. So it's okay to fail. So just do something. Secondly, I want to share with my story in 2 minutes. Number one, I grew up in evangelism. Since my childhood and my childhood church did church planting, it did evangelism, it did 3 months evangelism, 2 months evangelism, 1 month evangelism, tent evangelism, church evangelism, small group evangelism, all sorts of evangelism. I grew up in that kind of atmosphere until it went to 1 week and then 2 weeks, and then it went to weekends and then power weekends and revival weekends and things to that say. So I knew evangelism pretty well. There's two assumptions I want to bring your attention to. Just because someone accepts the 28 fundamental doesn't mean they know and have a relationship with Jesus. We need to understand this. People get baptized and they have no idea what they got baptized into. The fact that they accepted the Sabbath and the 28 fundamentals doesn't mean that they understand them. In fact, I can tell you right now in this room, how many of us understand with clarity the 28 fundamentals? It's a constant evolving study. So discipleship is a must. The second assumption is kingdom growth also includes retention. I have heard we baptized 400 people and then only 100 are left, right? We baptized 500 people and only, 70 are left, and so on, etc. We have to figure out retention. And retention has a lot to do with community. Community is essential in baptism. It's that relational capital, that relational economic that allows people to stick with us and walk with us, because people come to Adventism and there's a lot of weird things. Haystack being one of them. There's a lot of weird things. When people look at Adventism, it's kind of weird. Like they start with the Sabbath because I have some Baptists who come to my church and say, "Hey, you guys are keeping the Sabbath. We found the Sabbath," and so they come and they start with that. But there's some other stuff that they're like, "Oh, that's too much. I don't know," and they need to have conversations. So, kingdom growth also includes retention. So I want to share three concepts. Number one, create team culture. And I don't want to focus on inspirational stories because you got a lot of that going on. I think amazing presentations. I was telling Karen, she has shared stories since I've known her, and I always love to sit down and hear her stories and beautiful stories of how people come to Jesus. So I want to focus more on kind of the systematic of things. And so create a team. Notice I want to introduce you to a quadrant. We have high freedom, low freedom, unclear vision, clear vision. If you go to high freedom and unclear vision, what you get is chaos, right? When you're approaching a community, and I want to put this very clear, and I want to say I love all type of evangelism because as long as somebody comes to Jesus, amen, right? I don't care. Whatever you're doing, praise God. But I do want to share something. There's a difference between a church that learns how to be with its community and a church that just goes into the community to bring people into his church and then leave. Sometimes our evangelistic meetings are just putting the light for a little bit. The church gets super tired. We bring in an amazing speaker. We bring amazing music. And then we go back to normal and the amazing speaker is not there and the amazing music is not there. And all the gifts and all the friendly faces have disappeared. And church becomes
Quad. That's kind of
yeah, the crazies are still there. So, but when you're a missional church, and there's a lot of understanding about missional, but when you're a missional church, you are a church that has the light on constantly because you're teaching your members to live evangelistically constantly. I'm using this vocabulary with intentionality. So leaving the light on constantly, right? And so when we look at a community and we just want to do evangelistic meetings, sometimes that's what happens here. We get chaos. I think there's time and moments where we do evangelistic meetings that are very important. If we do low freedom and unclear vision, we get crazy. Crazy, right? We get a lot of crazy. If we do low freedom and clear vision, we get clones. If I have to control all the ideas and the creativity, if I have to control everything that happens, my people do not feel empowered. They only follow me. And I have lost the beauty of discipleship. Does that make sense? And I'm going super fast. So the best thing is to have high freedom and clear vision because that gives us collaboration. And that's why when Edved was talking about that guy who got on his phone immediately and got the teachers Jesus period, you see how that's collaboration. That's high freedom and clear vision because the vision is very clear. What we're doing here, we're bringing people to Jesus. Oh, I need a t-shirt. Okay, we're going to get it done. Bam, bam, bam. Get it done. And I'm sure he didn't ask permission. He just did it. Here's the t-shirts. Oh, we got it. Okay, perfect. And that's the type of cohesiveness that you want to create when you're reaching a community. So the second concept I want to introduce to you, and this is something that has been debated with me, but I stand by it, is the 52S concept. And the 52S concept is simply 52 Sabbaths. Your best evangelistic tool is every single Sabbath. Every single Sabbath is your best evangelistic tool. And I want to go through this. I'm going to get excited. First of all, your welcome system. How you say hello and how you say goodbye in a church means a lot. People in the first 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds get an impression of your church. And if you are loving, if you're a church that receives them, if they walk in and I got to tell you, some interesting people have walked into our church. And every time they come in, they are well received, they're well loved, they're well taken care of. You see? That welcome system is so important. And I can go into a 3-tier, the welcome system, how that works and so on, but I just want to let you know, whatever welcome system you can put in your church means a lot. Okay, a lot of people come and they are blessed. I can tell you a story of this one girl who was, she's a philosopher. She studied in France. Religion was for the poor people. He had that mentality. Why believe in God? She showed up last year in our church on January the first Sabbath, and she never stopped coming. Never stopped coming. And just recently starting, hey, I'm interested in baptism. You say welcome. Empathy points. You have to create intentionality within your church. Empathy points are important. What are the empathy points, the organic empathy points where people gather? I know if I put donuts with tea, people are going to gather. You see? People come together, they start having conversations. Oh, is this your first time coming in? And suddenly your members, without knowing it, they're part of the welcome system. You see? You're creating empathy points. And those, we have one of my family that started with the church, was one of my first families. She started creating an empathy point that I didn't even know. And suddenly she had around 30 families coming to her home. And I had no idea. One day she picks up the phone and says, Pastor, you want to come to one of our gatherings? What are you talking? What gathering? Oh, we're doing some gatherings here. Just come over. When I come, I see all these families. I go, what is going on here? Yeah, I've been inviting people to my house. Collaboration, high freedom, right? And so here we have empathy points. Figuring out what those empathy points are most important because people stay in the church not because of doctrine. That's very important, but it's relationship. It's relationship. That's very high. It's relationship. In fact, I can tell you, a lot of the millennials, Gen Zers, are not interested in heaven because of doctrine. They're interested in heaven because of community. Presenting the understanding of heaven, the understanding of the second coming, the understanding of our doctrine in the context of community, that really catches their attention. You see? A family experience. We already talked about children as very important. In our church, we have the family experience is everything for us. That's our currency right there. We have a whole, not only classes, we have a whole worship service for family experience where we disciple our kids from small. And they get to participate and do the worship service themselves. We got efficient worship. Your worship doesn't have to have a lot of lights, a lot of instruments, a lot of people singing, as long as it's efficient. What I mean by efficiency is uninterrupted. You have no idea how important it is. Well, you have an idea. You have an idea how important it is that a person who sits down looking for God and is connected with what is being sang at the hymn or with the song or is connected with being said in the worship, and suddenly there's some interruption, like what happened just right now. That type of interruption, that takes away an experience. And it doesn't matter if your church service is humble or it's elaborate. You have to work on the efficiency of your service because that's how it's an evangelistic tool. In fact, I want to invite you. What your church looks outside, your landscape, how it looks, is an evangelistic tool, because when your real estate looks good, you're making your community's real estate look really good. Does that make sense? So, 5-minute rule. After every worship service, I look at my church and I say hello to someone you don't know before you say hello to someone you do know. Something we say every single Sabbath. We remind our church that inside of the church there are people that they don't know and that we want to bring into a relationship with Jesus. Creating spaces for organic community is something very important. We allow people to talk in the church. We don't have the deacons closing up everything and saying, no. The church is open. Sometimes it's open until 2:30 and there's people in there. Just creating those organic moments for organic conversations to happen. So it's all based on community. Community language is very important as well. Auditing our methods against community needs. We need to figure out what is really working and what is really not working. Sometimes in our board we think, okay, we're going to do this because we think that's what they need, but we didn't go and find out if the community needed. Are you talking with community leaders? Are you looking at the demographics? Are you looking at the psychographics? Are you looking at the behavior of the community? That's all important to understand the language of the community. You already saw this, Christ's methods alone. I'm not going to go with that again. And so, platform and pulpit, we in our church, and this is in Canyon Creek Project, we assume that there's people that come into our church that know nothing about church life. So we don't talk churchy. And if we say something that is churchy, we explain it. We don't say happy Sabbath from the pulpit. We say welcome. If somebody says happy Sabbath, we ask them to explain it. Right? If I say haystacks, I need to explain it. You see? So we want to use a language that is that they can connect with, that it's familiar to them. And so even sanctification, justification, like these big words, we break it down into smaller words so they can understand it. Hope Box is one of the ways that we connect with our community. This is where we serve people who have been abused, children, man, woman. And this is the language of the community. In that area, there's a lot of that going on. So that's what we do. VBS is the language of the community because there's a lot of families. So we have big VBS, and we're prepping for our next VBS coming up. We do something trunk or treat. I know this is a little bit controversial, right? I know it because I receive emails about it. But the community doesn't understand so much Fall Festival as they understand trunk or treat. And so we have almost 2,000 people come to our event for trunk or treat. And we have the opportunity to expose the church, to share with them, to connect them. We always offer Bible studies. We always offer prayer. We always have a tent that is connecting them to the church while we are engaging with them. Yes, they come all dressed up. They come that way. We have our trunks. We have different type of trunks. Some of the themes are chickens. Some of the themes is Moses, whatever. So we're there. They come. We have the opportunity to interact with the church. Our other big event is Holiday in Whoville. And this one is a big event because this one includes the Grinch, includes Santa, and includes some other things. And yes, we have baby Jesus with Mary because we are intentional in a service that we do. This last year, we had 8,000 people come to this event. And so and the reason why it works is because we're talking their language. That's all. Now you say, but what is the benefit of it? There's 3 benefits that come from this type of speaking the language. Number 1, we have more than 800 names that we constantly are contacting and are giving information about our church. Number 2, what we wanted to establish is that the church was interested in the community. We were going to bless them just because. Just the other day, the Dallas Symphony got in touch with us and told us, hey, we came to the community. We asked around the community where we can extend what we want to do. We want to bring a choir, a harmonica choir, and an orchestra. And we heard about your place. We would like to go to your place. By the way, we asked around and we asked, hey, where can we go? And everybody told us, Canyon Creek Project. That church takes care of our community. We have members going to, when they use their shirts, Canyon Creek Project, they go to their shopping. And hey, you're the church that does that thing. Yeah, you guys really, we love that church. And we have created a reputation around our community. They know what we do. And it's our first step in this big plan that we have in bringing people to Jesus. And so that's what we mean by talking language. I want to share this with Ellen G. White. It says, in the cities of today, where there is so much to attract and please, the people can be interested by no ordinary efforts. Put forth extraordinary efforts in order to arrest their attention of the multitudes and make use of every means that can possibly be devised for causing the truth to stand out clearly and distinctly. Then it says, whatever may have been your former practice, it is not necessary to repeat over and over again in the same way. God will have new and untried methods followed. Break in upon them. Surprise them. We're following this. And by God's grace, God has been blessing incredibly in our church. The last thing I want to share with you, never stop giving Bible studies. Never stop giving Bible studies. It's so important. Bible studies must take place as part of growth. This is Dr. Ed Smith, which you guys know. Training is the younger generation's top priority. And so I want to leave you with that. And I'll share you this one story. We had this one girl who came to our church, and she sang beautifully. I put her to do my praise and worship. She was not Adventist. She was not baptized. And for 1 year, she led my praise and worship. After 1 year, she sat down with me and says, Pastor Peter, can you baptize me? Without even one study, she already was making decisions with her jobs, say, hey, I cannot work on set. And that became a principle for her, for any job she would accept. And finally, she gave her life to Jesus Christ, 23 years old. 23 years old. And I can tell you story after story of how God is blessing and working within our community. We're so excited. And I'll leave you with this. And I have my time is up, so I'll leave you with nothing.